Welcome back to episode 7 of the Sports Talk ATL podcast. I am joined by Jake Gordon and Alex Sword at Can't Guard Jake on Twitter and at Go Sports Talk on Twitter. I am Chase Sorrell at Sports Talk ATL on Twitter. Guys, we have the NBA draft tomorrow and the Hawks are involved in about every other rumor, but I want to start with the main guy involved in just about everything. It's John Collins. Even Woj shed, pretty much every NBA insider has said John Collins is not only might be traded, he is likely out. I'm kind of starting to think there's some internal reasons for this. We know John Collins has been unhappy with his role. It looks like they're just at a crossroads, and he's gonna be dealt for something. The good news is there's no shortage of suitors, guys. If I were to tell you what team he's going to be on, and it might not be before the NBA draft, but by the end of the offseason, who would you guess?
Go ahead, Jake.
I'll go with the Portland Trailblazers. Maybe if you're the Hawks, you can get maybe like a Nasir Little, somebody like that, a solid defensive wing. They do own the 7th pick. I don't know what that pick's going to turn into. I don't know if it's going to be a pre-draft trade. But it's pretty hard to predict. I could see it being somebody completely off the wall that we've heard nothing about so far, but I'll go with Portland, just off the names that we've heard so far.
Yeah, I think a lot of Hawks fans are confused. I think that Travis Schlenk has got, 7 different options and 7 different ways he could go, to start this retooling. And I think that for me, the most attractive case would be the Kings to get that 4th pick. And so I'll go with the Kings only because that's what I want to happen. I don't know if it's the most likely. I don't think any are more likely than the others, or at least the public doesn't know.
I think John Collins is just kind of the first domino to fall in this whole puzzle. I just think, to create that space and stuff like that, John Collins is, the most attractive trade chips to other teams. They said DeAndre Hunter and Trae Young are untouchable. That's been reported several times. I think Jake Fisher said it first. Now Woj just confirmed that. So John Collins looks like the first domino that just kind of has to fall for the Hawks to really figure out what they want to do next. Now, it depends what they get out of John Collins. Are they going to end up trading him for a player? Or are they going to end up trading him for, picks? I think I would rather have picks, but it's just because I don't think there's a lot of players out there that I'm really interested in.
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday, Chase. This was an ESPN Plus article. I believe it was a mock draft, and he had the Hawks sending the 4th pick. They had the Hawks sending Herter and John Collins, which is a lot of salary, to the Kings for the 4th pick, and I think that would be an incredible deal just because of who you can get a Jaden Ivey, who I think is the best player in this class. That's a steal, man. You're coming away with a lot of stuff there. I think that would be a picture perfect deal. I don't even know if it works salary wise. This is just what this guy said. I haven't crunched his numbers.
I don't think.
Yeah, Harrison Barnes would probably come back, but that opens up so much. Still, it just opens up
the only
so
big
much
contract
cap space
the
to
only big
acquire
contract
another
they have
star.
is Sabonis. Yeah, they have DeMontis Sabonis.
Barnes is pretty big.
Yeah, Barnes.
I think he's a free agent though, isn't he? I haven't looked.
I don't know if he is, but I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind Harrison Barnes.
Regardless, this isn't my trade hypo. I didn't crunch the numbers on this. I don't know if this guy even knows.
Well, I do. There's going to have to be salary that comes back, and if they deal Kevin Herter and John Collins,
Rashawn Holmes is on a $10 million deal. I could see somebody like that.
Yeah,
Harrison Barnes is due $18 million this year. So,
which honestly isn't bad for Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, that's not.
I love Harrison Barnes, and people might think he's like 40. He's really not that old. He's not as old
at all.
29.
He's 30. He's 30.
Yeah, he's 30. No, I actually don't think that's that bad. I mean, you look at Harrison Barnes probably instantly becomes like, even if John Collins was on the team, Harrison Barnes is your best scorer. Like, he would instantly become your best scorer if that's what it is. Like, outside of Trae, it goes without saying. I mean, we're not getting a better player than Trae Young. But I mean, if you're talking about hypotheticals here, I mean, if you somehow landed the 4th pick in Harrison Barnes, I mean, shit, like I think you just struck a gold mine, because I have to think Harrison Barnes' contract is almost up too. So you're really getting you're getting an expiring contract. So I think that would be an unbelievable deal for the Hawks. If they got rid of Herter and Collins and got the 4th pick. I think that's us kind of just hoping, though. I feel like that's pretty unlikely. I don't know why the Kings would give up the 4th pick and a potential star. I mean, I guess because they know they can't.
If it was anybody but the Kings, I would be like, no. But dude, it's the Kings. They are
They
franchises.
probably have just like gotten so tired of drafting in the top of the draft and embarrassing themselves that they're just like, yeah, we just need somebody. But yeah, I mean, John Collins to me isn't worth the fourth pick at all. If I was the Kings, and even Kevin Huerter in there, I just don't think that makes much sense. Maybe the seventh pick from the Trailblazers, we've heard that. I mean, Portland's got to get better, or you have to think Lillard. It's got to be antsy. I mean, if they don't start winning eventually, he's going to have to force his way out. I know he said he wants to play there, but eventually they have to start winning and making moves, or he's going to force his way out. There's just no way.
What has that organization done to reassure him? Is that just blind loyalty? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's the same thing with Bradley Beal. And then we get that update last night during the Braves. Bradley Beal is opting out of his contract to become a free agent. And we're like, oh, shit. Like this, shit just got real. Oh, guess what? He tweets out not even 5 minutes later, LOL, what? ? I mean, how do you get that information? If you're like this came from a verified Twitter account, and he tweeted this out. Like, you have to be such an idiot, like, to do. I mean, I just don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, who would ever do that?
Yeah, well, I guess Jake did it. I was actually thinking about that as I was saying it.
You just kept going, and I was like,
I was thinking about that as I was like, Jake kind of did that. But it just seemed like a different situation. I mean, at least Deshaun Watson didn't immediately tweet out to you, LOL, what? I had no interest in the Falcons. At least there was like, things
because he wasn't
that said,
interested in the Falcons.
Yeah, I know. Like, at least there were like proof that he was. We had we saw a Deshaun Watson Falcons jersey. We had people talking about going to Atlanta. So like there was actually proof. Like this just came out 5 minutes after his report and was like, yeah, that's dumb shit. That's not.
I feel like that was Deshaun's way of being like, here, let me throw you a bone, man. That was a tough look. Sorry, I did that to you.
Before we move on, I just want to say, John Collins is absolutely the type of player that any organization would love to have. It's sad that he's probably going to go. But I just want to, I love JC, and I just want to say that he is the picture-perfect team player, team first, Belichick guy that you want on your squad. He's a championship caliber player. He's, at best a third option on a championship team. And it's just sad it has to end like this. That's all.
Like I said, I think John Collins, I said this on the little short pod me and Jake did. I feel like John Collins is a great, number 3, number 4 guy. He's your great Andrew Wiggins. Like, he's a perfect Andrew Wiggins. Like, I think if you put John Collins on the Warriors and replaced Andrew Wiggins, like, the Warriors got better. I firmly believe that. But at the end of the day, the Hawks need to get a co-star with Trae Young. The best way to create cap space and acquire younger assets that other teams are going to be interested in is by trading away John Collins. And that's just the way it works. I don't think there's anything personal. I am wondering if he does, get traded, if there's going to be some stories that come out about some internal, disgruntledness, because we know we've heard, Collins be like, oh, I want more offensive plays. I want this, I want that. And while he's never made it public to the media, I do think there's some things going on behind closed doors that will eventually come out when this story does come to an end, which it likely will this offseason. Yeah,
definitely. I think that I don't want to blame it on one person, but I'm going to. If we had, a top offensive mind as a head coach, I don't think this would even be a problem, though. I think that John Collins, you can use him in so many different ways. Obviously, iso ball isn't his forte, but I mean, come on. This, you, just like you said, Chase, you're telling me if he wasn't in Golden State, he wouldn't be a 18-10 guy. Easy.
I think the problem with Collins in Atlanta too is actually that his best attribute is the pick and roll, and that's the best attribute for Clint Capella as well. So even though, Capella can't shoot and, John Collins can kind of do a pick and pop, he's not really a spot up shooter. And they both kind of if John Collins isn't involved in the pick and roll and Capella and Trae Young are better in the pick and roll than Collins and Young, then he really becomes obsolete in the offense. So I think there's actually, even though they're not the same player, there's actually kind of a disconnect there too. That's why I think either we'll see Collins or Capella out no matter what.
I think
that's, yeah. But let's talk about some of these other rumors. We already mentioned DeAndre Hunter and Trae Young being untouchable. Not too surprising because we've already talked about this, but it looks like DeAndre Hunter is here to stay, and there's going to be an extension worked out this offseason. I kind of like it because I've always believed DeAndre Hunter has all-star caliber potential. Obviously, he didn't take the next step last year, but let's be fair. His 3 years in the league have been super weird, hampered by injuries, shortened seasons, COVID. So if I just kind of want to see him, maybe get another opportunity in this 4th full season, and maybe they don't get an extension worked out and they just want to see how he does before they hand him that extension. He'll be a restricted free agent. But as they say, Young, Hunter are the 2 untouchable pieces. Obviously, that could change if a big name becomes available. Another guy that's been linked to Atlanta now is PJ Tucker. I love this, guys. And it finally looks like at least Atlanta knows what they need. And they need defense bad. The one bad thing about this is the 3-year, $30 million price tag. I heard the 76ers want to offer him. This guy's 37 years old. That's a little hefty.
Yeah, I'd be
more open to a 2-1 with a team option. But I mean, he holds all the cards. He was a big piece of that Bucks championship. He was a big piece of that Heat playoff run. You're not in the position to tell the guy what he's going to get. He's going to get what he wants.
Yeah, he's the type of guy you hate playing against and you love him when he's on your team. He's a bulldog. I mean, he's everything the Hawks need on the defensive end. He can go stand in the corner while Trey's doing his thing and hit the occasional 3-point shot. So I love the move. I love the fact that the Hawks – Trae Young is not the vocal leader that, a lot of superstars are, LeBron James or whoever it is. We need somebody with some backbone. And as weird as it was, I guess it was Solo in that Eastern Conference Finals run. But the Hawks don't have that attitude, that guy who's just going to go bow up with somebody. There's just no attitude on this team. It feels like they're not that tough. And
there's a word.
Tucker, yeah.
There's a word that you want to use. I know you're not going to use it. There's a word you want to use. It starts with an S.
Soft. They're soft.
Yeah.
They're soft.
Yeah, they're soft. They are very soft.
I mean, they definitely played really soft. And it does sound crazy because Solo kind of was that enforcer, but I think those are the guys you're going to see the Hawks targeting. I feel like PJ Tucker is a hired gun. He just goes from great team to great team. And while I do think the Hawks have the potential, I mean, if you look at it, the last 5, finals have been different teams every year. So, and last year the Celtics weren't a championship contender and they jumped into the NBA finals. So I do think the Hawks with a really good offseason can get there, but I think PJ Tucker is going to look at a team like the Sixers or maybe even going back to the Bucks or even the Warriors. I could see the Warriors being entered and landing him over a team like Atlanta. So I still doubt they get PJ Tucker. I understand why they're making a run, but I do think this is going to be a focal point of the whole offseason is adding not just a guy who can play defense, not just a guy who can shoot threes, but toughness. Like you said, I think that is definitely going to be a focal point of the offseason.
Yeah, y'all want to hear me? You want to hear a crazy reach? I just thought of this. Okay, so the Celtics lost in the Eastern Conference Finals in the bubble, lost in the first round last year, made the finals. Hawks. Actually, no, I have that. No, yeah, made the Eastern Conference Finals and lost.
Conference Finals first round.
Lost in the first round, going to the finals next year. There you go.
I don't think and I know you're kind of being facetious, but I don't think that's a ridiculous reach. I don't think the difference between the Hawks and the Celtics, who just made the finals, is all that ridiculous. I don't think it's that big. I think the Hawks team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and it was basically the same roster, was probably just as good as the Celtics team that just made the finals. It's just, chemistry, getting some toughness, getting some defense, finding a little extra scoring. It's not that ridiculous. When you look at the teams out of the East that have made the finals in the last 5 years, I'm pretty sure it's a different team every year. So there's no reason the Hawks can't make that jump, especially if they find someone who can really score with Trae Young and surround him with defensive pieces.
I think Hawks fans and Celtics fans would agree that, the Hawks team that made that Eastern Conference Finals, Celtics fans were like, they're not that good. And Hawks fans who saw this Celtics team make the finals would be like, they're not that good. These teams are obviously they're built completely different. Trae Young's better than Jason Tatum, bar none. But I just think that the NBA is much different than it used to be in terms of LeBron James is coming out of whichever conference he's in every single year. I think there's a lot of turnover with rosters and star players are always on the move. I mean, there's a disgruntled superstar in the NBA every single day of the week. It's crazy. So I think the turnover in the NBA has just propelled, this There's a new team. Just like you said, there's a new team in the finals. It feels like every single year. And then why can't it be the Hawks? Why can't it be them?
Well, for the first time in my lifetime, there's parity in the NBA. And it's funny because I think for the first time in my lifetime, the NBA has taken a backseat almost to like the MLB. Like the NBA playoffs were just awful this year. And they were the worst rated NBA playoffs we've had maybe in my entire life. And it brings me back to something Coward always said. He's like, everyone always says, oh, I don't want some one side. I don't want LeBron coming out every year. You always know who's going to make it in the NBA finals. I want parity. And Coward would always be like, no, you don't. In basketball, it was famous when it was the Celtics and the Lakers. It was famous when it was the Bulls. It was famous when it was Kobe's Lakers. It was famous when it was LeBron making it to the finals 8 years in a row.
Yeah.
The Spurs. Now you finally have this parity, and what? He was right. Like you say you want it, but guess what? Guess who wasn't tuning into every finals game? Like I tuned into maybe 4 out of 7. But it was not like, oh, I got to watch the NBA finals tonight. Like, boys, let's get together, let's eat some wings. Like NBA finals run. It was not like that anymore. And
it wasn't like that last year either with Phoenix and
no,
Milwaukee.
It hasn't been like that for 3 or 4 years. I mean, basically since LeBron and the Warriors were teeing off. That was the last time I was like, oh shit, like I got to watch the NBA finals. LeBron is playing the Warriors. Like, let's go. I mean, and that's not crazy. I mean, it's the truth. And it sounds crazy when Coward's saying it, but now that we've actually seen it play out, I mean, I don't think there's a time when I've been less interested in like the overall outlook of the NBA. Obviously, I still love the Hawks. I'm going to watch them every night. But the overall outlook, I don't care who wins the NBA finals once the Hawks are out.
Yeah, and I talked about this with you. I was like, the NBA offseason is a better product than the regular season. And you can probably argue that it's a better product than the playoffs.
But that's always been the case.
These playoffs were horrible. There were so many blowouts. The Suns got undressed by like 60 points in a game 7.
I bet Suns money line too. Trust me. I bet Suns money line. I was like, dude, at home, come on. Like this team's beating the Mavericks. Like the Mavericks have 2 players on their entire roster and they lost by 60. I was like, what in the hell is going on? And that team won 5 regular season games or something absolutely insane. It's just, you want parity, but then you just look around the teams and you're like, none of these teams are that good. Like even the Warriors who won it, like you thought they were going to win it. I didn't think the Warriors were that good. They weren't anything special by any means. The Celtics were okay. Like the Heat, okay. Like, I mean, you're just looking at a bunch of average teams playing each other. There's no real storylines that I care about. So I think you want parity. I do for the Hawks' sake because they might actually win something. But once they're out, the NBA definitely loses a lot of the aura to, once your team's out of the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, we talked about Capella. I mean, Capella, Herter likely gone. We talked about moving up in the lottery. How about just some predictions? Like, what do you think? Like, if I had to say, and I'm not going to say all offseason predictions, but how about just some predictions for what is going to happen before the NBA draft? Are we going to see a big trade? Is it going to be all smoke and we just end up drafting at 16? What do you think? Alex, you go first.
I think there's going to be less moves than people are expecting. Just like you said, I think they'll probably pick 16. I think we'll come away with some bullshit star I
would love Tari Eason. I really would.
I would love Tari Eason right there, but I'm biased. We're both biased. And Tari Eason is a good player.
But it's just defense. Like it's just the type of player that he is. And I'm
not biased. I want Tari Eason.
Yeah, and he's one of the few guys that did play, or I did get to watch a lot. And I'm just like, that guy would fit really well with the Hawks. He has an NBA body. He's good in transition, good in the pick and roll. His shot's not great, but it's developing. And he's
not scared to shoot though. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's probably the best defender in the college basketball.
I like Abaji out of Kansas too. I think he's another guy to watch. Senior can play right away.
I was banging my head against the wall watching Tari Eason and the Tigers during the tournament run. I mean, it seemed like Tari Eason was the only person who could or would shoot.
He was. Oh my God, the LSU's basketball team. We don't need to get in it. That was such a fraudulent basketball team. Like,
yeah, it was.
We had some we could fucking literally bully ball, play defense, but it was the worst offensive performance every game. And I was like, this team can't score. If we didn't get a steal and a dunk, which we got a shit ton of them, we just didn't score. It was the worst half-court offense I've ever seen in my life. But I don't want to get too stuck on that. Jake, what about your predictions for tomorrow night? Anything out of the ordinary? Do the Hawks make a deal? Do we see Kevin Herter gone? Do we see John Collins gone?
I just don't. I don't feel like anything's going to happen, and I just don't know if it's because the NBA has been boring recently. I just don't see anything happening. Like, when I say I don't see anything happening, I'm in with anybody. Like, I don't see maybe the Knicks trade up to 4, pull off a big deal with the Kings or something. But I don't think the Hawks are going to move up to 4 as much as I would love it. I don't think the Hawks are going to move up to 7 as much as I would love it. I think they're just going to sit still at 16, and maybe somebody like Jalen Johnson last year, like somebody that's at the top of a lot of boards, falls down. But if it does come down to that pick, I think they're just going to stick with the blueprint. I think they're going to go with a defensive-minded wing, maybe an Agbaji. I think Tari Eason's great. If I had to turn in the card and Tari Eason's there, I would probably have to go with him. But other than that, I mean, maybe Jalen Duren, that would kind of be a surprise. And if they do, that means they're probably going to move on from Capella. But I really got nothing. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm not expecting fireworks.
I'm going to go on the other end of the spectrum. Let's
have some fun with it. Come on. Yeah. Let's have some fun.
Fuck it. John Collins is not on the Hawks by the end of tomorrow. John Collins will not be on the Hawks. That is what I'm going to say. I don't know if it's going to be for a draft pick or for what it's going to be, but John Collins by the end of tomorrow will not be on there. And I'm going to say the Hawks don't pick at 16 either. I'm not going to say that they might not pick at all. They might not pick at all, but I'm going to say they don't pick at 16. They either pick in the lottery or they don't pick at all.
We are either going to get the most exciting, like insane day tomorrow, or just absolutely nothing is going to happen. Like, it's just going to be the most boring thing ever. It's going to be one or the other.
I said what I said, that they're just going to pick at 16 because I don't think Travis Link is the type of GM to just overpay. He's not going to – if he doesn't like something, he's not going to do it. He's not going to be forced into it by Tony Ressler or us stupid-ass fans pressuring, we want something. We want a championship caliber team. He's not going to sacrifice the future for today. He will not do that. So, and I think the Kings think they're getting a king's ransom for that 4th pick. I mean, I saw some hypotheticals that were just outrageous.
Like the guy on ESPN said, if there was a deal on the table that John Collins and Kevin Huerter for the 4th pick, I promise it would be done already.
Yes. Yeah.
It would be done. It would have been done days ago.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting a little bit of chaos. I just feel like it's time. I feel like the Hawks have been mentioned in enough rumors over the last 3 years, and nothing has happened. And I feel like tomorrow, or maybe tonight, maybe by 11:58 tonight, we have a trade. I
hope you're right.
I think we're going to see something. I think we're at least not going to pick at 16. That is going to be my guarantee. We're not picking at 16.
Here's the thing too to keep in mind. Stipend rule. You can't trade consecutive first-round picks. There might be something in place where somebody is going to pick for Atlanta, like we saw with Luka. Luka came up and got the Hawks hat, and then Trey went and got the Mavericks hat. Like, and you make the picks for each other. That could very well possibly already be done. It's just not being discussed because they don't want somebody, mucking up the trade.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to our random questions of the week. We got a hot TikTok trend where it's like, and I am sure, I don't know. I mean, there could be some old people on here. I'm sure there's a lot of old people on here. So if you're not on TikTok, I'm sorry, but it's a pretty easy game. It's just she's a 10, and then you give the rating for whatever it goes. So
I saw a fantastic tweet. This is for the older crowd if you are listening. It's just basically the plot of every episode of Seinfeld.
Yes. Okay. So I'll just start with an easy one because we put this one on Twitter and then people can get the gist of the game. She's a 10, but she's a Mets fan. What is it?
She's a boy. That's what it is.
I gotta go with okay. We gotta see I don't know. It depends on how does she just like baseball because it's trendy? Or are we talking
she's
like
from New York? That's
yeah. I think at least the fact that she's a baseball fan is a plus. So I feel like you gotta give her a little bit of a plus. But I'm also fuck the Mets. So
you can shit on her every single year.
That's true.
So I'm gonna go. She's a 9. I'm gonna give her just a slight break, but I think she's still a 9 because baseball, and you could shit on her, and you could go to games with her, like Braves Mets games. Y'all are into it. That would be kind of fun. Actually, I'm going to keep her at 10 because this would be kind of fun. Now I'm kind of liking this relationship dynamic.
Chase is going to stay with every single rating. He's going to be like, I don't care. I judge girls on physical appearance.
No. Here's one. She's a 10, but she doesn't think Matt Ryan's a Hall of Famer.
Oof.
She might be an 11.
She's a 6. She's a 6. She's going 4 points down for that bullshit. Because I would have too many arguments with her. We'd be arguing right off the bat.
She's a 10, but she thinks that you should always pay your running backs.
Ooh.
4.
She's a 3.5.
I'm a pump and dump running backs kind of guy. I mean, you draft them, run them into the ground, and then just kick them to the curb. There are people but I barely.
This is a tough one. She's a 10, but she thinks that Phil is a better golfer than Tiger.
she's a. Now you're saying
0.
she's actually, she's a
0.
1, but she's retarded. Like
that's
just
being the lefties.
Like, well, I'm not a lefty, and like that's actually certifiably insane. So she's a 10, but she thinks Pizza Hut's better than Domino's.
Oof. Oh my God. She just doesn't have good taste. I mean, she would probably like me. So
she's a 10, but she thinks Lamar Jackson can win a Super Bowl.
Ooh. I think he can. I'm gonna go.
I know chance
She's
he
still
can,
a 10. She's still a 10.
Bro, the Ravens won a Super Bowl. Granted, it's not the same NFL, but the Ravens won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. So
she's a 10, but she thinks Zach Wilson is better than Joe Burrow.
11. No, wait, better than Burrow. You didn't finish.
That's a good one.
Oh gosh. She's a 10, but she replies to the Falcons posts with 28-3, thinking that she's like,
oh my God, she's a 2. She's a 2. She might even be a 1. Like that is so stupid. That's terrible.
That's so
she's
funny.
I mean, if that's the only thing you got, how about this? She's a 10, but she runs the Atlanta Falcons social media page. That's bad.
I cannot explain to our listeners how, if you do not are not on social media that much, the Falcons might be 30th or 31st in terms of social media rankings. I will say stuff. It seems like Arthur Blank is up there like checking everything off.
It's because they get so much engagement but it doesn't matter. Like they always get ranked really high because they have such high engagement numbers. Because everyone's like, dude, this is so fucking stupid. Like, what are you doing? Like, why? Like, we lose 41-7, and they're like, picture on the field with the other team. It's like, dude, fuck them. What are you doing? I hate this team. It is one of the worst. I guess it's just the cringiest social media pages. They do some good things. I like the beginning, like of the season when the schedule comes out, that little video, but that's about it.
Let's see. She's a 10, but she thinks the Braves should have re-signed Freddie Freeman.
Ooh.
I'll give it a 7.
She's still a 10, dude.
I'll give it a 7.
No, I'm gonna say an 8. But we're gonna talk about that later, so I'm not gonna get into my reasoning.
We're Matt
how
Olson.
about this?
We're Matt Olson.
How about this? What's the dude? I almost called him something bad. What is the dude's name that is it Sal Licata? Like the Mets guy?
Yeah.
Was that the guy?
Yeah.
Okay. She's a 10. She's a 10, but she listens to Sal Licata every night like it's gospel.
Well, she can't be a 10 because she's not getting any beauty rest because Sal Licata's on the radio at 3 in the morning.
That's a good one.
Ooh, she's a 10, but she spends like 9 hours of the day in Spaces.
Dude,
I know how there's actually girls that do that.
I think you just called out one of your followers. I think we know who that is.
She's a 5. How about this? Shit, I just forgot it. Oh, she's a 10, but she thinks baseball and golf are boring.
I feel like
she's
that's
probably still a 10,
common.
dude. She's
probably still a 10. That's kind of common. She would be higher if she didn't. Like if that makes sense.
She's a 10, but she's constantly there to tell you that sports aren't important and they're not real life.
0. Not
she
somebody.
Might as well be dead.
Let's be honest.
Well be dead, dude.
Let's be honest. If there's somebody in your life that is constantly telling you the things that you like aren't important, you should probably just get rid of them.
Yeah, and also they just don't understand that sports are like one of the biggest like economical things, and people like make a living off that, just like they make a living off every other thing. So it's like, What are you talking about? So yeah, that's a big turnoff for me because I've had many situationships that end on that note. It's like I literally do sports for a living, buddy. So like, yeah.
Okay. One more. She's a 10, but in like the 4th inning of every game that you take her to, she's like, I want to go home.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. She's still a 10 because in the fourth inning, most games, I'm ready to get blacked out. at
Me too,
PBR.
dude. I was about to say I don't want to say
Unless-
this, but
unless
like,
it's a
me
play,
too.
unless it's a playoff game, or like obviously I went to the Dodgers game, like I'm staying like Giants game, but if like we're playing like the Reds, I mean shit, opening day, where were we? Where were we in the sixth inning? We were in
We went to
PBR.
we went to the section we bought it like that when it was like 4-1. The game was not over. We're like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, we're like, let's get, so like, all right, see, like if it's like I want to go home and like go to sleep, okay, maybe she's like a 6. But if she's like, yo, let's go get drunk at the Battery, she's like, it might be an 11.
I was talking going home.
Right.
Let's we need to unpack this too because we haven't talked about this since we were at that opening series against the Reds and we were sitting in the left field bleachers and we were letting Tommy Pham have it. Little did we know he's about that action. He could have came up into the stands and slapped us.
Dude, I actually got kicked out of the Chop House for letting Nick Castellanos have it in like the 9th inning of a game. Like 3 weeks ago, the only time we played the Phillies like at home and we lost. Like Will Smith came in and like blew it. The Chop House guy, like the stadium had kind of cleared out, and I had been drinking double vodka waters in the Chop House since the first inning. So I was pretty loaded. It was like the 8th inning, and I like convinced the guy to like let me down like on like the wall of the Chop House. And for the last 2 innings, I did not stop screaming at Nick Castellanos. And like eventually the guy comes out, he's like, dude, you need to go. And I was like, what? But Nick Castellanos kept looking up and laughing. But I thought it was funny, but apparently nobody else did. It doesn't matter. We were down like 9-3. Like we were getting our ass kicked. I just wanted to have a little fun with Castellanos and the Phillies. But let's get to our just stop. Let's get to our just stop tweetings. Who is the first guy that we want to talk about? Jake, you got this guy.
Oh yeah, stop making me read out loud during these podcasts, dude. All right,
well, you didn't even send me the tweet, so what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I did. It's in the group chat. All right,
you want me to read
Jake
it?
is a
okay.
type.
No, it's
Jake
okay.
is a type of person to like write
that?
aloud ALLOULOWED.
I mean, this guy can't even spell. I don't even know what he's talking about. All right, let's go.
All right. So I'm not shouting this guy out. I'm pretty sure everybody's seen this tweet, but I'm not shouting out his terrible YouTube channel that I'm sure plenty of people check out. This man said, and I quote, "I'm so sick and tired I'm reading it how he spelled it, by the way. So this is riddled with misspellings, which is ironic. I'm so sick and tired if these Braves players not taking time to learn English. I'm tired if seeing this interpreter." He spelled interpreter wrong as well. "Jesus telling me you can't pay to learn our language. I would like to hear the players. SMDH, go Braves, nice win." This guy got ratioed to the moon, by the way. We had 271 quotes. I couldn't see the replies because it was already deleted. But yeah, how many times? It's like the meme. Like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Like,
yeah, I mean, I think I see that tweet once a year at least, and like every time I'm like, dude, like one, like you realize this guy's what, like. I mean, most of these guys are like 23, 24. I mean, especially Acuna over his entire career has been like 21, 22. Came to the States at 18, knowing not a lick of English. Also, what they don't realize is in the minors, all of these players are actually forced to go to English class. So these players actually have like attempted to learn English. And if you listen to, Acuna talk or Ozzy talk, like they can speak some English. Like it's not, and it's just like them being more comfortable in a public setting. Like, listen, if you had to go in a public setting with a language you didn't know on national television, you'd probably want an interpreter so you can speak your own language. Dude, I bet half these guys that say this shit wouldn't even get in front of their own office and speak, let alone speak in front of 50,000 people in a language they don't know.
This dude misspelled the word of twice. OF twice. Like messed that one up. Like, dude, you don't even speak English. Like, what are you talking about? That's my thing with the whole thing, man, too. Like, okay, like these guys are world-class athletes, like trying to play a game that is objectively very hard. And like, think about it too. Like, if they accidentally say something wrong on television, like they're going to be ridiculed and everybody's gonna be like, how could you say something like that? Like it's a lose-lose. And if it bothers you, like, shut up. And Franco's the GOAT, by the way. What does he mean he's tired of seeing Franco?
Dude, actually, my brother
I love that guy.
My brother sent me a text, dude, the other day, and I think it was after Acuna. He was interviewing Acuna or somebody. He was like,
it was Arcia.
It was Arcia.
Yeah.
He said, he goes, man, you got to meet this guy and like take him out for drinks. This guy's been such a like memorable piece of so many great moments of sports history for me. And I'm like,
because he's always there for
Franco's,
like walk-offs and stuff.
Yes, yeah. I'm like, Franco's the GOAT, dude. Like, and I love that, man.
man.
It's just crazy that people actually think shit like that. But I don't know. There is still a group of the population that's like, oh, America or nobody, and it's just like, all right, just say you're racist. Anyways,
Yeah, let's have a team. Let's have a team
Franco,
full of guys
hang
who
on,
can
one
speak
thing.
English that hit 230.
yeah,
Franco's
we
job-
would be very good.
Franco's job is as secure as any in the Braves organization. That guy kills it. I mean, we're never not going to have international players. That guy is never losing his job unless he wants to leave.
Yeah, and we actually like him. But then again, we probably could have said the same thing about Kelsey Winger, and like next thing you know, she's gone. So, great. I mean, some of the business is savage. The business is savage. It doesn't matter how good you are doing. If someone new takes over, they could get a new interpreter. Like, I don't know who hires the interpreter, but if there's like an international relations department and they get a new head, they'll probably bring in a new interpreter, and we'll all be sad. Like, where the hell's Franco, man?
We'll cause an uproar. We'll post another petition.
I mean, I know we've said it a million times on different podcasts, but we tried to get the petition going for bring Kelsey Winger back to Atlanta. I think it got legitimately over 100,000 signatures because someone started it, and we just wrote an article about it, and it was just like everyone was signing it.
I'm pretty sure it's still our most viewed article ever. Probably.
I think petitions are quite literally the funniest and dumbest things ever. Like, has a petition ever fucking worked? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't, like, what is the point of a petition? It's like, get 1 million likes and we'll get her back. And it's like, no, you won't. Like, no matter how many fucking likes this petition got, nobody was getting.
That's
Kelsey
my favorite thing.
to Atlanta.
It's like 100,000 people signed this petition. 100,000 people are very upset. It's like, oh, I know a lot of people are upset. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what is this petition doing? Like, yeah. Those are quite literally, those got to be up there. Maybe next question we do dumbest things that like people like talk about all the time. I think petitions might have to take the top of the list. That's going to be a random question of next week.
I'll be
unless
quick
you
on
want to
this
start
too.
doing it right now.
I'll be quick on this. When I
off.
was in high school, we had to do a project on like it was like an AP government thing, and it was like we would go around the school and ask people if they wanted to end women's suffrage, and I guess they think like since the word suffrage sounds like suffering, they thought it meant like end women's suffering. That was really just taking away a woman's right to vote. And so everybody was like, yeah, the women don't need to suffer anymore. So yeah, be careful what kind of petitions you sign. That's the lesson here.
Yeah. And our second, just stop tweeting. It goes out to Salicata, who we just mentioned. I mean, this guy is a clown. I mean, like, and it wasn't even actually his first tweet where he said the division was over. Honestly, if the Braves had a 10.5 game lead, I guarantee you there would be a podcast clip of me saying that NL East is over. The NL East is over. Even though Mets fans should know better, especially with the defending champions behind them, who constantly come back in the division and win it by 7+ games. But I would probably be cocky too if I was up 10.5 games in May. It actually is his comments after the Braves won 14 games in a row, where he was just like saying, oh, I'm going to take on Atlanta. I could take on the whole city. I am New York. I am New York. We are the #1 sports market in the world. Like, shut up, dude. Shut the hell up. You are literally a pigeon. You work the night shift. You're Sal night shift around here, buddy. You literally have less followers than me. Like, that is absolutely pathetic. I am a nobody. I'll say it. But you can't even take on me. Like, I will ratio to the moon. To the moon. To the freaking moon. So don't stop. You're not taking on anyone. And, like, physically, like I don't know what you're trying to say. You could take on all of Atlanta physically. Like, this guy is an absolute clown. He runs a 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. show. I mean, it was just one of the dumbest things I have ever seen in my life. So Salicata, shut up. You should just stop tweeting.
I bet even
hang on.
Go ahead.
It's the first time I've ever seen somebody like really, boast about I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. And then for their actual like resume to come up and it be so disappointing. 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. for our listeners who don't know who this guy is. This guy is this guy talks about New York sports from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. every night or every morning because nobody's up at that time.
Whatever his listeners, I don't even know what 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. is. I don't know.
While the janitors at the office that he works at cleaning the shitters, he probably puts in headphones so he doesn't have to listen to this guy do his show.
Yeah, I mean, it was just super weird. It actually
also like the wildest part of all of this. This guy's a Falcons fan, and he got so mad online. He made a 28-3 joke, like cutting off the nose despite the face. Like that is actually insane.
That's just like that is the sign of no pride. I mean, talk about no pride.
Nut zero.
That's a sellout right there.
That is a sellout. And you know what? Listen, man, I've said it.
$200 million, I'd sell out.
And also,
here's a good question. $200 million. Are you killing a member of your family?
Yes.
I already know which one I'm killing.
Are we talking like immediate?
I've got 5.
Are we talking like immediate or extended?
Let's just say I'm not going to get into story, but I got a lot of weird cousins.
Could we include
for $200 million? I could create a bundle.
I would be the flyest person at their funeral. Absolutely dripped out.
I think my brother would even understand if I was like, dude,
it sounds
million.
But like that actually obviously comes from, I don't know if you listeners have seen that. It was Charles Barkley saying, like, everyone talking shit about people taking 200 millions. I would quite literally kill a member of my family for 200 million. So that's why we said we're not just out here savagely trying to kill our family. But it is funny, and like it does give you, for 200 mil, yeah, that's a lot of money. I don't think I could
the answer to the question. There's like 98% chance whatever you ask me, if it's in exchange for $200 million, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I don't think it's 98. I think literally killing one of my family members is like the line. Like maybe I don't kill one of my family members, but pretty much anything else I'm doing. Murder's about it. All right, well, let's get into the Braves talk. Since the last time we had it, we were on here. We were on a 14-game win streak. That obviously came to an end in about the most disappointing fashion ever. Like I would have rather lost 20-0. We lose on some fluke games where there's 50-mile-per-hour winds blowing in and no balls can go out of the park. And people are like, oh, dude, why can't the Braves just hit it the other way or hit ground balls? Or
you could just say Brian Jordan and Chip Carey.
Guys, shut the hell up, dude. You can't just change your approach that you've had this whole season on a whim. Like this isn't magic. It's like I hate when people say, oh, you should just hit it the other way, beat the shift. It's so damn easy. This is the Braves drop bombs, bro. We literally pull the ball and hit homers. That's what we do. And it's why we have the best offense in the National League and arguably the best offense in baseball. We're not going to change that on a one-day basis because the wind's blowing in. Like, it's just such a stupid thing to say. And just to expect professional hitters at any level against professional pitchers to just change their approach on a whim that they've had for 4 years, it's nonsensical. And I hate when people say stuff like that.
It drives me insane too, dude. And that's the number one thing is like, oh, I lay down a bunt. Like, dude, Ronald Acuna is literally a generational player. Stop with the lay down a bunt.
I never want to see that man lay down a bunt in his life. Like that.
I don't care. I don't care if it's a sack bunt to take the lead in the bottom of the ninth. I want him taking cuts.
You know what laying down the bunt is? It's basically like saying, I know we're not as good as you. Like, I know we're not physically as good.
But the Giants did the other night.
Yeah, we're going to have to bullshit our way to a win. And that's fine. Like, if that's how you have to win, that's how you have to win. But guess who the Braves are going to line up every night and know that they are better than the other team? Every night, even against the Dodgers, especially without Mookie Betts. Lineup for lineup, they think they can hang with them, and they've proven they can hang with them. There's no way they're going to be laying down bunts. It's never going to happen. There was 1 million times in the last 2 playoffs where there's been opportunities to lay down bunts. Have we ever laid down a damn bunt? So stop asking for it. It's never going to happen.
If you lay down a bunt against me in Diamond Dynasty on MLB The Show, I will literally pause the game to send you a message and call you a loser. Like I will legitimately do that.
So it's at least some of the good things. A couple good things did happen. I know we lost a series against the Cubs, but Charlie Morton and Ian Anderson, who we talked about last week, we talked about the Pannon meter. They both threw gems. Combined 13.2 innings. I think they had 17 strikeouts, no runs allowed. I think they only allowed like 5 hits. So unbelievable outings for them. I know it's the Cubs, but a lot of this game is about just building confidence, and hopefully this is a sign of things to come because we got Morton on the mound tonight.
Yeah, he's our biggest it factor. We saw Spencer Strider struggle, and I think that was atypical. He's so young. It's going to happen. You know, people who are writing him off are ridiculous. I can't believe the takes I saw on Twitter about Spencer Strider's outing.
You can't.
But
how often do you spend time on Twitter?
But
not enough apparently.
But yeah, if Charlie Morton regains form, good God Almighty, this rotation, I'm salivating.
Yeah, I mean, I think Morton. I've said, you know, my panic with him is very little. I think the stuff is there. We've actually seen it the last 3 outings. He has like 29 strikeouts and 18 innings or something. So his control is still a little off, but as that gets better, which I think it will over the course of the season, I don't expect any troubles. I really liked what I saw out of Anderson too. As I've said, though, I'm not as bullish about him being, an ace type pitcher or top of the rotation. I think if you could put Morton up there with Wright and Fried like it should be, you got a really scary three-headed monster. And then you have Spencer Strider as an X factor. I know he struggled. His velocity was down. I think that's something we do need to, keep an eye on in the next start. He was down to like 97. He was topping out at 98 when usually he's topping out at 101. If that continues, I do think you'll start to see. I do think when Soroka comes back, Strider will undoubtedly be the guy that goes back to the bullpen because he's only thrown 94 pitches or 94 innings, the most in his career, 94 innings in a year. So he's already at I think 50. So he will crush that if he stays in the rotation all year. If he pitches well, he's going to stay there. But, if you see his velocity keep going down every other start or something like that, I do think he'll go back to the bullpen.
Yeah, and that's probably going to line up with Mike Soroka's return. I still like the piggyback idea, but if he's losing velocity, then it probably means that he's not used to this type of workload, which is understandable.
I think you got to ease him into things. And listen, he's a weapon out of the pen, and we need another right-handed reliever. So it's not really a bad thing if they do put him back in that multi-inning relief role.
Definitely not the end of the world.
I think late last week, Alex Anthopoulos says likely to trade for a left-handed bat. I'm going to be doing a series where I talk about a lot of these guys. I know I mentioned Cavan Biggio. I know you mentioned Drury. I know I've mentioned Rougned Odor before. I think it's going to be a second baseman, just because I think it's a platoon situation with Arcia. But who knows? Maybe they just want a little extra depth. It definitely in the playoffs last year, having guys who could just platoon constantly was a big advantage for the Braves in the playoffs. So it could be an outfielder. And they might not know if what they're going to get from Eddie Rosario. That's another thing. Do we know if Eddie Rosario is going to come back and be the guy who he was last year? If he's going to be half that guy, or if he's going to continue to struggle? So maybe that's another reason why they're trying to get another left-handed bat.
And here's the thing with Happ too: is Happ's played center field before. He has a lot of positional flexibility. He's a guy you can play all over the place. He's hitting pretty well. And Chicago, they're obviously a team that needs to rebuild their farm, so they're definitely somebody you can work with. I think Happ and Drury make a lot of sense. Benintendi, maybe. The outfield has just been so much better lately.
It's hard to Happ is a starter, but it's hard to really make a big move for a guy who's going to need every day at bats with just the way everybody's been playing.
It's somebody that's actually going to make an impact, and at that point, you might as well just stick with Arcia.
How about Ozuna? I saw this the other day. So Ozuna's on pace for 30 homers, and he has negative .06 WAR. So
holy shit,
that is truly incredible. That's one of the few. I think that's Matt Kemp levels.
That's probably going to be the first time that's ever happened. Unless Chris Davis did
in the conversation, I think it was someone who's we tweet a lot and stuff like that. But the conversation, there was one guy, I forget who the other guy, but Matt Kemp was one of them. When Matt Kemp had that Padre Brave season, he had 35 bombs, but he was playing in the field every day. Ozuna's only had he had a month's worth of on-field games.
That's so bad.
Yeah, and he's he could hit 30 bombs and finish with negative WAR. So the idea of trading Ozuna, I know we've talked about that sometimes, but we're gonna have to give up Kyle Muller just to get him off the roster, and that might not even be enough. That actually might not be enough. I think we might have to give up Davidson and Muller just to get Ozuna off the roster. But I actually think it's something they might consider doing, especially if guys like Strider and Soroka and those guys come back, because they got to find something to do with this man. He's owed $32 million over the next 2 seasons. Whew, that is a black eye. And then you almost think about Alex Anthopoulos' big moves. I think the Matt Olson one is going to turn out to be a really good one, but there's been a lot of big moves that just haven't worked out, Ozuna being one of them. Where he's nailed guys is the under the radar guys like Matzix and Arcia,
Jackson Stevens, Beast,
Jackson Stevens, Dylan Lee, all these guys that came out of almost nowhere. And then the 1-year deals, Morton last year, Josh Donaldson. But
Matt Olson's been pretty much what I've expected so far, though. He's
let's talk about it. Freddie Freeman returning to town this weekend. How do you guys think he's going to be met? I think it's going to be a standing ovation, constant.
Nobody's
cheers.
going to boo him.
I do think there'll be a sprinkle of boos like when he comes up to bat, and like maybe if the game comes up later, like if it's a tie game in the 8th inning, like I think there might be some boos. But at that point, like it's a baseball game. Like of course you're gonna boo the best player on their team that comes up to play in a tie game against like your arch rival from the NL West. So I mean, I don't have any problem with that. It's sports, man. We don't need to hold this guy hands. I love the guy. I love what he did for the organization, but if we meet him in the playoffs, like I'm going to be booing him. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, not boo him? Am I supposed to be offended, scared to boo him because he did great for us? No, I'm going to fucking boo him.
He's one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest players in franchise history. He won an MVP, won a World Series. He did it the right way too. He went down when we were bad. And he stuck through it all. With that being said, the people who are, he is going to get a standing ovation. I don't even think it's a question. I think the masses at Truist are gonna. Everybody loves Freddie, and there's such a small minority who are very loud on Twitter who fuck Freddie, do this, do that. But with all that being said, it is sports. This guy is a multi-millionaire, and he's got a gorgeous wife, a gorgeous family. He's not sad. He's not struggling. Just like you said, Chase, he doesn't need his hand held. Like, he'll be okay, guys. We can boo him. If it comes to postseason, I'm going to be belligerent in there booing my ass off. I mean,
I understand, like, the people, like, if you boo him his first at bat, or if you boo him when he gets his ring, like, that's lame. Like, I think people who do that, stupid. Like, he deserves to be cheered. Like, he deserves everything. He deserves to be recognized. He deserves a tribute video. He deserves all of that. But I mean, as his career goes on in LA, like he then he's just another opponent. Like, and you don't need to hold his hand. So I think people that are like taking this butthurt, oh, dude, like you're really gonna boo him? Yeah, I am gonna boo him. I mean, like he's on another team, and not only is he on another team, he's on our biggest competition in the NL while we're trying to win championships, and he's trying to prevent me from happiness. Like he is going to make me sad. He has no problem making me sad. Yeah, I mean, he has no problem making me sad. So why can't I boo him? Like, Jesus.
This is just like such like a Twitter thing. Like everybody's so concerned about what somebody else. I don't care what you do. You'll buy your ticket. I don't care what you do. Just boo him. Don't boo him. Cheer. Sit down. I don't care. God. Who gives
as long as you don't tell me to sit down.
Exactly.
There's nothing worse than you're at a playoff game. Like I remember I was at a Hawks game, two off seasons ago. And some guy told me to sit down. I was like, motherfucker, I ain't sitting down.
We had one of those moments. We had one of those moments at it was one of the Georgia games, and it was the student section. And some girl like asked some guy to sit down, and we all just turned and looked at her like, what?
No,
what are you talking about? We're playing number 8 Arkansas. Like college game day just left. Like we just kicked off. What do you mean sit down?
I just drank a fifth of fucking liquor. Like I'm not sitting down right now. No chance.
This was when we started. Like we had like 3 straight false starts on Arkansas to start the game because the place was so loud. And this girl's like, "Can you go sit down?" What the fuck are you talking about?
It's like, bro, we're impacting the game, bro. We're part of the team right now.
12th man.
12th man, dude. Don't tell me to sit down. And let's finish off with a couple guys who have been absolutely on fire. Dante Swanson, my boy, already know what it is. I don't even have to say it, but he has been the best player in baseball over the last month. Alex, you just did an article. He's collected 2.0 F4, maybe even a little more after that last night because he had a couple hits and a big defensive play where he threw out a runner at home. Listen, man, you cannot talk about the best shortstops in the game right now without mentioning Dante Swanson. If so, you're just a hater, dude, because we're now at a 2.5 months of him being arguably the best shortstop in the game.
Yeah, and it's one of those things to where there was such a visceral reaction. I think it's so funny because granted he was terrible to start the season. It's so funny. He's turned it around so much and he's been so good, but his average, I'm pretty sure, is still sub 300, which just goes to show.
I think he's like right. He's at like 2. He's like close.
He was at like 297 last night. He might be above it now, but he was so bad to start the year that he's been the best hitter in baseball for a month, and he's just now hitting 300.
I mean, it took him 20 games. 375.
It took him 20 games to get over 200. So, I mean, that's.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah. And then secondly, Michael Harris, dude, holy fucking shit. This guy, I mean, I know like there's got to be a point where like he takes a step back and he struggles and the league figures him out. Like it's inevitable. But I'm pretty sure I think it's Gaurav or some guy from the Battery Power tweeted it out. In the month of June, he has the second highest F4 among all players in the MLB. And that might have gone up yesterday. And how about that throw he just threw? I know the guy
he almost hosed Crawford.
100 miles per hour. I mean, that there should be no chance for that guy to get out. And dude, he just has a gun. And everything you watch him do, like he hits the ball to all fields. Like you are not, if you can hit the ball to all fields like that, you are not going to slump. Like you're not going to slump like 200 slump, you know? Like he's going to hit for average. The power is apparent. Defensively, he's unbelievable. And I mean, dude, this guy's a superstar.
It's one of the things too where like, you know, you could see some guys and you're like, okay, this guy, like he's getting up here, like he's having a little good stretch. He's probably going to cool off. You look at Harris, he's hitting opposite field home runs. He's in even counts. He's working counts. He's hitting the ball the other way. He's stealing bases. You know, he's making incredible plays in the outfield, throwing guys out at home. That type of stuff doesn't regress. Like those are just, that's just good baseball.
Well, and like, yeah, like you do. Like, even if like he regresses in one area, like he's so good in so many different areas that he's always going to be have a positive net impact on this team. I mean,
and Duvall too. I mean, we talked about the impact he's had on Duvall.
Yeah. I mean, just from defense alone, like he could hit fucking 150 and like his WAR is going to go up because he's so good defensively. I don't think he'll ever hit that. Like I just said, his contact back is legit. I mean, I think in his worst, you know, over the rest of the season, I mean, he could easily hit, I think at worst he hits like 260, 270. Like I don't think he's going to be a guy, even if pitchers start to figure him out, where he hits sub 250 over a long, like a 2-3 month stretch.
Yeah, and I hope it's one of those situations where every day when everybody comes out comes out to take their cuts and everything and get warm for the game, I just hope the pitching coaches are just not even saying a word to him. Go out there and do what you've been doing. Don't change it.
Yeah, I mean, at this rate,
he immediately changed. He dropped his hands down, and I mean that's just immediate results. So
yeah,
I don't know if we're gonna just leave him alone. He's 21 years old. He's the youngest player in the league. He can obviously learn some stuff. I know what you're saying, but this kid is unbelievable. It seems like every single game, and it's in every facet of the game, whether it be defense, just like you said, offense. He does something incredible.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it like. Yeah, and it's obviously not sustainable. Like, there's no way. Like, he's on pace for 10 more. Like, that's his 162 game.
We keep saying that. We keep saying there's no way.
But he could get 5. Like, dude, like he could get 5. I don't see why.
We keep saying there's no way. We keep saying it's not sustainable. This is probably the second or third week in a row we've said this isn't sustainable.
At that point, he's legitimately the second best player on the team, and he's fucking 21.
Third.
If
awesome.
I mean. He could even be like more valuable. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but if you got 5 F4, and a lot of that's going to be from his great defense. But I mean, listen, let's not get into that conversation.
We're not going to get into the semantics. Yeah.
Regardless, the Braves got another one. We got another superstar.
And you just look at Strider and you look at Contreras, and it's just like, dude, like all these people were talking about the farm system. Yeah, I would take those two guys, Strider and Harris. And I know Contreras was technically graduated as a prospect, but he was basically a project. Like those 3 guys alone are more valuable than a lot of these guys' farm systems that were in the top 10. Like, and people want to be like, no, they weren't. No, it's just because they like the depth because prospects are usually so volatile. It just seems like every guy the Braves bring up now is just a stud.
They just want more bites at the apple because they're not used to having guys like, I mean, even Austin Riley had his struggles, but they're not used to having guys come up, Ozzie, Acuna, and just coming up and being immediate.
Soroka. Yeah. I mean, it's truly incredible. I mean, that's why I say baseball is my favorite. That's why baseball is my favorite sport because a World Series is like so organizational. Like it's from the bottom up and every piece like played a role and then winning a World Series. So I just think that aspect is super cool. And the Braves have just shown, just like the Dodgers, their development is head and shoulders above the rest of the league.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, that wraps it up for the 7th episode of the Sports Talk ATL podcast. Guys, we're going to have a lot to talk about. We'll probably do a special episode maybe Friday, maybe Thursday night after the NBA draft. Hopefully we got some action to talk about. Maybe we won't do it if it's just the 16th pick, but we will definitely be back next week with another long episode. Thank you, guys.